Before I get into this video, I wanted to first say that this footage is months old. I recorded this months ago, and the continuity of this video, the present, and my channel are way off, so keep that in mind. I say re-ranking because I have previously ranked the Chucky movies, and this list is quite a bit different, so yeah, watch that one, and then watch this. I'll leave a link down description below. But yeah, with all that said and out of the way, let's do this. Hello and welcome, Slashers. Crypt here, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be doing a Chucky ranking. I will be re-ranking the whole entire Child's Play franchise. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I just never got around to doing it, and now I'm finally doing it. So yeah, guys, let's get into this ranking. At number 8, the worst Chucky film, in my opinion, is Cedar Chucky. I will admit there are some things I do appreciate about this film, but I feel like it could have been done a lot better. To start off, I'm not a big fan of the comedy. Some of it falls flat, some of it's kind of funny. I felt like they took a page from Bride of Chucky, which is an amazing film, and tried to take it a bit further, and in my opinion, it didn't work out very well. I do, however, like the meta aspects of it, and I wish they did more with that. But things like the comedy and Jennifer Tilly's infuriating personality in Cedar Chucky is why I'm not a big fan of it. I will admit, I have seen worse films though, so Cedar Chucky, it's not the worst for this franchise, but it isn't the worst film I've seen by a long shot. It is not. I also have a pretty big gripe about Gwen. The thing is, at the end of Bride of Chucky, when Gwen is born, he is shown to be evil. However, in Cedar Chucky, he is a goody two-shoes. I think that a lot of people would have loved the idea of a doll child hybrid just as evil as Chucky running around, and I think that would be a lot more entertaining, in my opinion, than what we did get. Like, look at this shot of evil Gwen in the dream sequence. I would actually want to own an evil Gwen, like an actual replica. I think it'd be awesome evil, but he's all goody two-shoes, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. But what do you guys think? At number 7, which is the second worst in the franchise, for me at least, is Cult of Chucky. Like how I particularly do not like Cedar Chucky, I don't really hate Cult, but I feel like there are a lot of issues that drive me crazy. I feel like the writing could have been better here because there are a few plot holes, a lot actually, in this specific film. Just an example of the many plot holes in this film, the Chucky that takes his arm off somehow doesn't bleed when he does that. And I believe he was alive almost the entire film. And then there's Buzzcut Chucky, who was alive for, Chucky says in quotes, 2 minutes. He goes to try to kill Andy, and he dies. There's complete gore in him already. So plot holes like that drive me crazy. There are a few other plot holes I do not like. I'm not going to explain them here, but I believe I have made videos on at least one of these other plot holes, and I will leave a link in the description of this video to go watch that. But issues like that is why this film is at number 7. At number 6, which is the third worst, which is quite a stretch because I don't dislike this one, but it's Child's Play 3. I do enjoy the military setting in this one, but there are a few problems with this one. It's a bit cheesy, a little bit cliche, and this film was rushed. I've talked about quite a bit why I don't hate this one, but why it bothers me is because it was rushed. And to me, that's quite a bit frustrating. There are numerous filming and editing errors in this one as well, I should mention, which is why it's at number 6. But minus that, I do enjoy this one. I love the score. I think, well, the scores in every Chucky movie is great, but I love the military themed score in this one. And the ending is fucking awesome. So, Child's Play 3, at number 6. Now for number 5, we have Curse of Chucky, which was the grand return of the killer doll himself. I do like this one a lot. It's just a little bit slower paced than the other ones, and it takes a while to finally pick up. And in my opinion, Chucky doesn't appear as much as I'd hoped for him to, and the CGI Chucky kinda bothers me. But aside from that, this is a great sequel. It adds completely new characters to the lore, it has full-on backstories around them, and Chucky has this past connected to this new character, Nika Pierce, and I just like how it was done. Not to mention, there's a deeper meaning behind everything that happens in Curse, and the whole dynamic between Charles E. Ray and Nika Pierce's mother, Sarah Pierce. I made an explanation video on this, and I will leave a link down in the description below. But Chucky comes back, he's more badass than ever, his appearance of course looks amazing, and is one of the goriest in the franchise. And one thing that a lot of people don't like is when Nika Pierce swings an axe at Chucky's head and knocks his head clean off, there's no blood or anything. And my explanation as to why I think that is because he hasn't fully turned human yet. So with that said, there's no blood that comes out of him when she swings her axe. At number 4, we have the Child's Play remake. I know some people don't like this one, but personally, I don't mind it at all. For those who have been following me for a while, you guys know that I fucking hated this remake. I hadn't even seen it yet, but I hated the idea behind it. I didn't think it could work. And I talked shit about it a lot, to a point where I just didn't have much hope for it at all. And to my surprise, it came out and it kicked ass. I don't think this is the best in the franchise, but I do think it's a great remake, and it's an example of how you could take an idea and do something completely unique and cool with it. Though we have Mark Hamill for this remake, he'll never be as good as Brad Dourif, but at the same time, you don't even have to look at him as the same character, because yeah, technically he isn't our Chucky, but he's a version of Chucky, and he's a version that you could take this version of Chucky and look at him as his own character, minus the Chucky that we all grew up with. And that's what I really like about this Chucky, and he doesn't take anything from Brad Dourif's version, and that's what I really like. Although he doesn't laugh as much as Brad Dourif's Chucky, and when he does, it's not nearly as iconic as Chucky from the original franchise, but he's still great. And seeing that this version of Chucky is a robot, which like I said I was not fond of at all, there are some limitations to this version of Chucky, and that's a big reason as to why I don't see him nearly as good as the original. But if you like him better than the original, then that's your opinion. At number 3, the top 3 best Bride of Chucky. This is my first ever Chucky film, ever. For those who did not know, I grew up watching Chucky. The first ever time I ever saw a Chucky movie was, believe it or not, when I was 2. And ever since, I've been super attached to the franchise. I've of course watched every single Chucky film, I know everything about Chucky, and I pretty much eat, sleep, and breathe Chucky. And Bride of Chucky, I have to thank for that. And we are the same age as well. Bride of Chucky came out in 1998. And that was the year I was born. I know some people hate Bride of Chucky, as some people feel like this is when the series started to kind of get bad, but I can't help but have a soft spot for this one. Bride of Chucky is it has a nice style to it. It's gothic, and I absolutely love the way Chucky looks in this film, the way he acts. I love the addition of Tiffany. The only thing is the plot hole with the Heart of Dambula. Not the biggest fan of that. Also the fact that Tiffany just ends up giving birth no problem at the end of the film, even though it hasn't been 9 months, nearly. And by the way, that birth scene scared the shit out of me as a kid. That scene, whenever that would pop up, I would turn it off. I hated that birth scene. Scared me, it traumatized me. That's one of the few things that scared me as a kid. But minus some of the shortcomings of Bride of Chucky, this, in my opinion, is a great movie. It has a good balance of comedy and horror, so I really like that. Not to mention, Bride of Chucky kind of combines the horrorverse, as I like to call it. At the beginning of Bride of Chucky, there is an evidence depository that has the masks and weapons of a bunch of horror villains, a bunch of well-known horror villains. Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Leatherface, and some even claim to seeing the Puppet Master puppets in the background. So, there is no way that Bride of Chucky isn't a fucking awesome film, and that's why it is at my top 3 favorite. Number 2, my second favorite is Child's Play 1. I love this one. I think Child's Play 1 is the darkest one by far in the series, and I really love this one. I love the aspect of Chucky turning human as the film goes on. I wish they did that more because it's disturbing. It's a very disturbing thought. The idea of you having a doll that slowly becomes human is fucking scary. And that's one of the few things I love about this one. One thing for sure is, I wish they did a little more with Eddie Caputo because he just kind of dies. But the whole backstory with the voodoo and John Bishop and all that, honestly, it makes me want to learn more about those characters. I want to know more about them. I know that Don Mancini doesn't really like the inclusion of voodoo because he's like, well, that means Chucky could just make voodoo dolls of everyone and just use those as a way to kill people. But knowing Chucky, he wouldn't want to do that because for him, he likes to kill for fun, and something like that wouldn't be fun. So I can't see Chucky making a bunch of voodoo dolls and just killing people off that way because it doesn't make sense for his character. But I overall really like all of that backstory stuff with the voodoo, and it makes me wish that they did more with it. I love this film, but there are a couple things that are wrong with it. The man in the suit, Ed Gein. This film makes it look super dated when he's walking around in that costume. When Ed Gein's playing the Walkabout Chucky and he's walking around doing things that they can't have the animatronic doing, it looks super dated by these standards. Don't get me wrong, I think it's cool, and I like how they pulled it off, but it just, you could tell that it's a man in the suit sometimes. But minus that, I still love this film. I like the ending. It's just an amazing movie. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time, as are a lot of these Chucky films. But enough of talking about my second spot, let's talk about my first. And you guys already know what I'm talking about. Child's Play 2. This film took some of what Child's Play 1 did, it did it even better. The only thing that kind of bothers me about this one is he doesn't age. Like, he doesn't look more and more human in this one, but his nose does bleed the more he becomes human. And that's fair enough because this film as a whole is fucking great. There's a badass third act and ending. Like, this has got to be like the best. Like the third act is probably like some of the best in any of the Chucky films. Actually, the best. When Andy and Kyle are running away from Chucky in the Good Guy Factory, I love that scene. The kills are pretty good as well. There's some pretty good ones in here. The one-liners of Chucky, the animatronic work, the filmography, it's all better improved, and I love it. I also love the colors in this film too. Very nice and bright, and almost innocent looking in a way. Like, if you did not know better, if you're just watching this film out of nowhere and you didn't know what it was, then chances are you're just mistaking it as a early 90s comedy or something, like Problem Child or something. But overall, this film has got to be at least one of my most favorite horror films of all time. I would actually say at least my most favorite, right next to John Carpenter's The Thing, which is also an amazing film. There's a lot of reasons why I love Child's Play 2, and there's barely really anything wrong with the film that I could even think of. It's just that good. This film is an example of how to do a sequel, and goddamn do they do it great. But that was my re-rank of the Child's Play franchise. How would you rank the Child's Play franchise from worst to best? Let me know down in the comments below. These films are a big part of why I am an aspiring filmmaker and why I find film so fascinating. Between the animatronic work and the cinematography in all these films, I just love this franchise. Along with the character Chucky himself, and Brad Dourif, who does an amazing job at playing the character, as well as Mark Hamill, who plays the remake Chucky. But if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content, definitely subscribe to Become a Slasher, all social media links in my merch description below. Thank you guys so much for watching my re-ranking of the Child's Play franchise. But I'm out of here, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget, guys, to keep on slashing.